B, which, yeah, that's the part of the honor, so that we can try to see what the two channels had in common and what perhaps are the main subjects, main questions, main observations. Sebastian, I'll start with you because you're fresh from Channel B.
If I pick up on something that's fresh, J.C. Vines, right next when we had the marketing ideas and we were talking about our dot brand, he said many companies went through 3 stages, and that is anger, denial, and then acceptance. And I think that was really well phrased. I mean, if we are now at acceptance, companies get control of their brand. And if you consider that your advertising spendings are usually, if you're a big company, fairly high, then a TLD isn't really expensive and the possibilities are really great. So I thought it was really closing well with great expectations. What's going to happen? Let's see.
Jothan, do you have some thoughts on that? You've been in both channels. You've seen more than anybody else, probably.
Well, and I want to compliment United Domains on what a great show and what a great conference and how well produced this is. And you've given the audience a real opportunity to solve a big problem, which is, gosh, which of these great topics am I going to sit in the room for? But no, I think he summarized that session very well. Yeah.
Certainly something that I've observed and, trying to watch out for what seem to be the areas of concern, what are the areas where people do seem to have questions. There seem to me to be different categories. One is the question of what do we do with this whole question of the business model. Do I have a model, and if I don't, how do I define it? Should I go ahead anyway? And what I heard there coming out of the discussions that I've listened to was a sense that that's exactly where the stimulus to innovation and creativity lies. The fact that you map out some big parameters, but then you kind of let things bubble up. And so that may be terrifying in the beginning, but becomes exciting and stimulating once you get used to it. Do you think that is that right? Does that fairly describe the process that a lot of potential applicants are going through?
I think that's really a fantastic summary. And one of the sessions that happened over in Channel B, in fact, a few of the sessions, Roland LaPlante, are you in the room, Roland? If you aren't, Roland LaPlante over at Affiliates gave a presentation this morning, which he's actually done charts and graphs, and he showed how the previous rounds have gone. And it really gives a lot of good empirical information about what we've seen in previous rounds. I've asked if he would make that slide available. Perhaps if you put some pressure on him by stopping by the booth and asking him for his deck for that PowerPoint, he might make that available to you, or at least put it up on the Affiliates website. But it was fantastic information so that people can actually go and think about the model, the financial model, and how to plan for some of these things, because there's a lot of unknowns with respect to the finances. There was another session in Channel B called New Business Models and New Financial Considerations, which Channel B really focused on. The moderator was Monty Kahn and Anthony Vancouvering, a very well-respected person in the community, as well as Phil Buckingham and Norbert Gray, talked about some of the financial models in and around what to consider with these new business models and how do you plan for these financial things. So it really kind of segued right into a great session about finance and sort of the financial thoughts.
One of the other considerations that I heard raised a good deal were various issues relating to timetables, decision-making procedures, standards of evaluation, and so on. Again, there, I think, a certain level of anxiety about how things will be implemented. But when I discussed this just now off stage with Peter Dengate Thrush, it was clear what you then said later on the record. So much of this is going to just sort out in the process common sense, and trust issues. We talked about trust in several different contexts today. Clearly, trust is a huge part of what this process is about and needs to be built.
I mean, we've been waiting for this for, I don't know, 6 years or even longer, and I'd said we can always try to perfect it, but we've got this Pareto principle. I mean, at a certain stage, you just have to do it. I mean, you can always optimize, but I think now is the time to go for it and then really make the best out of it. From what I've gathered in the last minute, we really have to make this launch successful, that it's accepted, and then it can play, a role model for new introductions.
And there was actually a session just before lunch in Channel B, which was for new gTLD operators, some of what the legal challenge is and, for future registries that a variety of folks went through and talked about. Yes, so we need to proceed forward and we need to have some tests to see how this is going to work by actually doing it. But it's important, I think question 49 in the applicant guidebook has you go through and identify some of the risks and some of the precautions that you've gone through. So there is still some responsible activity baked into the process of new TLDs. So it's not just simply, boom, here it is, let it fly or not fly. So that there's some important things that are built in for future registries. So there's some safety in the process of experimenting with this.
But it seems like the greatest safety perhaps lies in the word resilience that we heard used a number of times, the sense that it is a very fluid process with a lot of unknowns, and so what's going to be called for is a certain resilience on the part of everybody, I guess, Sebastian Ritze.
Exactly. I mean, in the last applicant guidebook, I don't think we've seen many changes. I think it was quite a small set of slides. So it seems to be pretty much set. And, well, I'm really looking forward to, the launch itself. And I'm pretty sure we've set this in motion now, and I think it's going to continue.
Well, another of the speakers in Channel B was Brian Cute, who's the CEO of Public Interest Registry, who are the operators of .org. And Brian's played a role in different areas of governance and policy structures. And he really brought up that as far as that resilience goes, more and more inclusion of regulatory bodies into this helps to strengthen your stability and helps to include more stakeholders. And he talked about that in the framework of how you construct policy for your registry, that helps to create some stability as far as how the domain is going to operate once it's out in the wild.
My sense is that the process in general has been transparent enough and inclusive enough that has helped to build up some of the trust that I'm talking about. I heard a fairly general level of satisfaction with the transparency.
Well, I know one group who, wasn't too satisfied, but that's when I started talking about the anger denial acceptance stage. I think lots of brand owners were really opposed, and Inter, who represents brand owners, was very concerned about what's happening, and they really tried to ensure that their brand owners' interests were incorporated in this process. And I think actually in these committees, the results were very good. I thought it was pretty fair. You have to have some kind of protection. I thought it was a good involvement. The relevant parties have had a very long time to comment on it and to give good input. I can offer the possibility to comment on it. It was published, so I think everyone had his word. And if we still have some groups who say, well, we still don't want it, I think it's too late. We've talked about this. Now we've got it.
We'll see what they say by the end of the day tomorrow. We do have another full day of discussions tomorrow with a lot of very, very interesting points in both channels. So I think for now I would leave it there unless you, Jothan, want to add anything else from Channel B?
Well, there was some discussion of the secondary market, which is still very important and robust conversation and then I'll drop it. But Tim Schumacher from Sado has a tremendous amount of experience, and he gave a presentation leading into the session. And then it was Kevin Murphy from DomainInsight.com. Tim stayed, and then Monty Kahn and Mike Birkins from Right of the Dot. And you know, there was conversation in the session that precluded this one called Ask the Experts about, you know, are the registry fees high? And people are looking to the secondary market opportunities, premium domains, and other allocation models of early stage in generic release top-level domains. They're looking for a way to bring back some of the money that they've spent on getting started on the domain and looking to the aftermarket and secondary market as an opportunity to recapitalize, to bring that money back in and help fund marketing or other initiatives. So that was a really good session by, I think it's Right of the Dot, Domain Insight, and Sado.
Yeah, I'd just like to add one more thing that is for the new business models and financial considerations. That really stuck in my mind. I mean, I think we have this idea, we have to have these new TLDs, but they have to be successful, and the financial planning is really essential. Lots of the applicants don't have the experience. They have to rely on, well, consultants. And for a 10-year contract, for a new gTLD, and if it's not a .brand and you have to have proper renewal rates, it is vital that you get this part right. Otherwise, you're going to fail. So now it's time to, you know, to plan and make things work.
Very good. Thank you for that injunction. Thank you very much, Jothan Frakes. And I think we'll leave it right there. We've been at it for a long time today, and there are exciting things in store for the evening. And I'll just remind you what those are. I have this wonderful assortment of bright-colored cards, and I assume that all of you have seen these cards, or perhaps you already have one. But I'll just go through them briefly again, because this is the same kind of amazing planning that we saw all day today at our conference. We have 4 tracks of cards, 4 tracks on which you can now take a tram to the Hofbräukeller. If you want to be an early applier, then you can get on one of the first trams. They leave at 6:15 and I believe at Conference Foyer. So here in the hotel, 6:15 for the first tram that will take you on a sightseeing tour on your way to the Hofbräukeller for dinner. You can also do the same at 6:30. So 6:15 or 6:30 if you would like a sightseeing tour on your way to dinner. And those are, these green and yellow cards give you the details on where to be, but basically in about an hour, in about half an hour. The other 2 trams take you straight to the Hofbräuhaus, no sightseeing tour, and they will be leaving at 7:30 and 7:45 respectively. So if you could please be in the foyer of the hotel at 7:15 or 7:30, then you can take your tram directly to the Hofbräukeller. Regardless, once you get there, you will have a very delicious Bavarian dinner, of course involving beer, and you can get this without going to the tents of the Oktoberfest, where you will encounter many revelers. So if you would like to have a quiet and pleasant dinner with your colleagues and continue these very interesting discussions that we have had today, we look forward to seeing you at the Hofbräukeller. May I just say a warm word of thanks to everyone for your attention today, for your very interesting questions, and of course, again, very, very warm thanks to all of the panelists, as well as to our organizers and our sponsors and supporters. And during the course of the day tomorrow, the sponsors and supporters have a board, which you will find out in the foyer. They would love to have your signature on their board. So please remember to do that. I'll be telling you again tomorrow. But if you think about it, do it now. No time like the present. Thanks again. See you later on at the Hofbräuhaus.